February 24, 2026, 23:14 local time, Gulf of Oman, 67 nautical miles south of Chabahar. The USS Carney, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, is conducting post-ceasefire patrol operations in the Gulf of Oman. The war, technically, is over. The ceasefire signed 2 weeks ago has held. Both sides are pulling back, but ceasefires don't mean peace. They mean temporary absence of organized violence, and in the confusion of de-escalation, accidents happen. Misunderstandings occur, weapons fire when they shouldn't. At 23:14:33, a weapon fires. An Iranian Hormuz-2 anti-radiation missile, launched by a Revolutionary Guard unit that apparently didn't receive the ceasefire order, locks onto the Carney's AN/SPY-1D radar emissions. The missile strikes the ship's forward superstructure. Every electrical system on the ship fails simultaneously. The USS Carney goes dark. Welcome to War Signal USA. I'm your host, and this is the story of the attack that shouldn't have happened, and the American response that came 22 minutes later from a ship that had to restore power before it could fire back. Let's understand what made this incident unique. The ceasefire that ended the Persian Gulf conflict was signed on April 13, 2027. Both sides agreed to halt offensive operations. American ships would remain in the region but would not approach within 50 nautical miles of the Iranian coast. Iranian forces would return to peacetime posture. The agreement mostly. The problem with ceasefires is implementation. In a conflict involving thousands of military personnel, hundreds of weapon systems, and dozens of separate command authorities, ensuring that everyone gets the message takes time. And until everyone gets the message, the risk of unauthorized action remains. The Revolutionary Guard unit that attacked the Carney was stationed at a remote installation near the Pakistani border. Intelligence later determined they had been out of communication with higher command for 72 hours due to equipment failure. They had no knowledge of the ceasefire. What they did know was their standing orders. Engage any American warship that came within range of their weapon systems. The Carney was 67 nautical miles from Chabahar, outside the ceasefire buffer zone, but within range of the Hormuz-2 anti-radiation missile. Her AN/SPY-1D radar was actively scanning the airspace, as per standard operational procedure. To the Revolutionary Guard battery commander, that radar was a legitimate target. At 23:12, the Carney's electronic warfare suite detected a fire control radar painting the ship. Bearing 024, range approximately 89 kilometers. The signature matched a known Hormuz-2 battery that intelligence had marked as inactive. Lieutenant Chen assessed the situation. The radar lock was unusual. Iran wasn't supposed to be targeting American ships under the ceasefire. But unusual didn't mean impossible. Equipment malfunctions, rogue units, accidents. She had to decide: wake the captain and risk overreaction, or monitor the situation and risk underreaction. She chose caution. Continue monitoring. Track any launches from that bearing. Don't wake the captain unless something changes. Something changed 2 minutes and 33 seconds later. At 23:14:33, the Hormuz-2 launched. The Carney's radar detected the missile 6 seconds after it left the rail. By then, it was already accelerating toward Mach 2.8 and climbing to its cruise altitude. Anti-radiation missiles are particularly dangerous because they home on the very systems designed to detect them. The AN/SPY-1D radar that had painted the Hormuz-2's launch was now guiding the missile directly to its source. Chen had a decision to make in seconds: shut down the radar, and the missile might lose guidance. But shutting down the radar would also blind the ship's defensive systems. She wouldn't be able to track other threats or guide her own interceptors. Keep the radar active, and the missile would have a perfect guidance signal. But her defensive systems would remain operational. She could try to shoot it down. She chose to fight. General quarters. All stations, Vampire inbound. Bearing 024, range 82 kilometers, closing. Weapons free. Engage. The ship erupted into controlled chaos. Sailors raced to battle stations. The captain was roused from his cabin. SM-2 missiles prepared to launch. But anti-radiation missiles are fast. The Hormuz-2 was closing at Mach 2.8, nearly 950 meters per second. Flight time from launch to impact, approximately 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Chen had already spent 10 seconds assessing and deciding. She had 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. The first SM-2 launched at 23:15:01. The missile climbed rapidly, its radar seeker searching for the incoming threat. The problem with intercepting anti-radiation missiles is geometry. The Hormuz-2 was diving toward the source of the radar emissions, which meant it was coming almost straight down toward the SPY-1D arrays. The SM-2 had to climb, turn, and descend to engage. The angles were terrible. The first SM-2 missed by 67 meters. The proximity fuse triggered, but the warhead fragments passed behind the speeding Hormuz-2. The second SM-2 fared better, 23 meters. Some fragments struck the missile's body. The Hormuz-2's guidance fins were damaged, but the seeker was still functional. The missile adjusted course slightly and continued diving toward the Carney's forward superstructure. At 23:17:11, the Hormuz-2 struck the ship. Impact point. Directly between the two forward SPY-1D radar arrays, 4 meters below the antenna faces. The 90-kilogram high-explosive warhead detonated on contact. The explosion was catastrophic for the ship's electrical systems. The radar arrays themselves survived. They were designed to withstand combat damage, but the power distribution junction directly beneath them was obliterated. The junction was the central node for the ship's forward electrical grid. Every system forward of Frame 100, radar, combat systems, lighting, ventilation, damage control equipment, received power through that junction. When it was destroyed, everything went dark. At 23:17:13, the USS Carney lost all electrical power to forward systems. The SPY-1D radar went offline. The Combat Information Center displays flickered and died. Emergency lighting activated, then failed when the backup batteries shorted from the concussion. For 47 seconds, the Carney was completely blind. Captain Morrison reached the CIC at 23:17:38. He walked into darkness. Emergency flashlights provided the only illumination. Sailors were shouting status reports. Damage control teams were already responding to fires in the forward superstructure. The captain's first question was simple. What do we have? The answer was complicated. The forward power grid was completely down. The SPY-1D radar was offline. The forward vertical launch system, containing 32 of the ship's 64 missiles, was without power and couldn't fire. But the aft systems were intact. The ship's 2 gas turbine generators aft of the impact point were still running. The aft power grid was functional. The aft vertical launch system, 32 more missiles, was operational. The Carney wasn't helpless. She was half crippled, half her eyes, half her weapons, half her power. In naval combat, half is often enough. Morrison's second question, can we restore forward power? The chief engineer's answer, maybe. The main junction is destroyed, but we can reroute through the emergency bus. It'll take 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. In those minutes, the ship would be partially blind, partially armed, and completely uncertain about whether another attack was coming. Morrison made a command decision. Start the power restoration. Combat, prepare a counterstrike package using aft systems only. Target that Hormuz battery. I want missiles in the air the moment we confirm the strike won't violate the ceasefire. Chen looked up from her emergency console. Captain, the ceasefire prohibits offensive action. We can't strike Iranian territory without authorization from Fifth Fleet. Morrison's response was immediate. They shot at us during a ceasefire. That's a violation. Get Fifth Fleet on the horn. If they confirm this was unauthorized, we're cleared to respond under the self-defense provisions. The communication challenge was significant. The ship's primary satellite antenna was mounted on the forward superstructure. It had been damaged in the blast. The backup antenna on the aft mast and was operational, but establishing a secure link took time. At 23:21, the Carney established communication with Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Captain Morrison's report was brief. Carney hit by Hormuz-2 anti-radiation missile. Origin: battery near Chabahar. We've lost forward power. No casualties. Request confirmation of hostile intent and authorization for response. Fifth Fleet's response came at 23:24. The intelligence picture was clear. The battery that had fired was a known Revolutionary Guard unit that had been out of communication with Tehran for days. Iranian government channels were already transmitting apologies and explanations, claiming the attack was unauthorized, the result of a communication failure. But unauthorized didn't mean unpunished. The ceasefire agreement specifically allowed for proportional response to violations. Iran had fired. America could fire back. Fifth Fleet's authorization. Weapons release approved. Destroy the battery that engaged you. Do not target additional sites without further authorization. At 23:25, the Carney began preparing her counterstrike. The targeting data for the Hormuz-2 battery was already in the system. The aft vertical launch system was operational. 8 Tomahawk Block 4 missiles were loaded and ready. But the ship's fire control systems were designed to use the SPY-1D radar for targeting verification. Without the forward arrays, the weapons officers had to rely on backup navigation systems and stored coordinates. Lieutenant Commander David Park, the weapons officer, worked the problem. The GPS coordinates of the battery were known. The Tomahawk's onboard guidance system could navigate independently. The strike didn't require real-time radar data. It required accurate targeting information. They had accurate targeting information. At 23:29, the engineering teams reported progress on power restoration. The emergency bus routing was 60% complete. Forward power would be restored in approximately 8 minutes. Morrison decided not to wait. At 23:36:41, exactly 22 minutes and 8 seconds after the Iranian missile struck, the Carney launched her response. 4 Tomahawk Block 4 missiles emerged from the aft vertical launch system. Each missile carried a 450-kilogram warhead. Flight time to target, approximately 11 minutes. The launches were ragged. Without full fire control radar, the missiles had to be launched using backup procedures. Each one required manual confirmation before release. But all 4 missiles launched successfully. Flight to target, 97 kilometers. While the Tomahawks flew, the engineering teams completed power restoration. At 23:41, the forward electrical grid came back online. The SPY-1D radar required a 4-minute restart cycle. By 23:45, the Carney had full combat capability restored. She didn't need it. At 23:47:52, the first Tomahawk struck the Hormuz-2 battery. The battery was a small installation, 2 launcher vehicles, a fire control radar, and a command post. It was concealed in a wadi approximately 15 kilometers inland from the coast. The first Tomahawk struck the command post. The 450-kilogram warhead detonated on impact, destroying the building and killing everyone inside. The second Tomahawk hit the fire control radar 8 seconds later. The third and fourth struck the launcher vehicles. When the explosions faded, the battery had ceased to exist. Iranian casualties, 14 Revolutionary Guard personnel. The ceasefire violation had been punished. Proportionally, precisely, without escalation. The Carney suffered no fatalities in the attack. The strike had been remarkably precise, hitting the electrical junction without penetrating into crew spaces. 11 sailors were wounded by shrapnel and concussion effects, but all recovered. The ship underwent emergency repairs in Muscat, Oman, over the following 2 weeks. The forward electrical junction was rebuilt. The damaged superstructure was patched. Full capability was restored. She returned to patrol on May 14th, the first American warship to conduct post-ceasefire operations in the Gulf of Oman. The incident created a diplomatic crisis that ultimately strengthened the ceasefire. Iran was forced to acknowledge that they had lost control of some military units during the conflict. They agreed to improved communication protocols and centralized command authority over all forces with anti-ship capabilities. The United States accepted the explanation and the improved protocols. Neither side wanted the ceasefire to collapse over a communication failure, but 14 Iranian soldiers were still dead, and 11 American sailors were still recovering from their wounds. The mathematics of military incidents don't care about intentions. They count bodies. Captain Morrison received a commendation for his handling of the crisis. Lieutenant Commander Chen, who had made the critical decision to fight rather than go dark, received the Bronze Star. The engineering team that restored power in 22 minutes received unit commendations. Their speed had made the counterattack possible. Without power restoration, the Carney would have been forced to wait for Fifth Fleet aircraft to respond, potentially hours of vulnerability in hostile waters. 22 minutes. That was the margin. The time between being hit and hitting back. What lessons emerged from the Carney incident? First, ceasefires don't guarantee peace. They guarantee organized pause. But until every unit with a weapon gets the word, the risk of violence remains. The Carney was attacked by soldiers who didn't know the war was over. Second, electrical systems are vulnerable. A single well-placed hit destroyed the Carney's entire forward power grid. Modern warships are remarkably dependent on electricity. Without it, they can't fight effectively. Protecting power distribution should be as important as protecting weapons systems. Third, redundancy saves ships. The Carney lost half her systems, but retained half. That half was enough to restore communications, prepare a counterstrike, and maintain defensive capability. Single points of failure are single points of death. Fourth, speed matters even in peacetime. The 22-minute response demonstrated that American warships can fight back quickly even when damaged. That reputation for rapid response is itself a deterrent. Adversaries know that attacking American ships will result in immediate retaliation. Fifth, proportionality preserves peace. Morrison could have requested authorization to strike additional targets. He didn't. The response was limited to the battery that had attacked. Nothing more. That restraint helped preserve the ceasefire and prevented escalation. And finally, every sailor is a damage controlman. The engineering team that restored power weren't trained combat specialists. They were technicians doing their jobs under extraordinary pressure. Their competence saved